commonly. And if that's priority number one, then maybe Luris is not appropriate for this weekend.
Well, we are about to be underway here, folks. It's Marcio Carvalho on your left, Yuki Ichikawa on your right. Rakdos Sacrifice, Sultai Ramp. Remember, Yuki Ichikawa did win our SCG Tour Online Season 1 Seasonal Championship. So we know that there's a pedigree there for both of these players. Marcio Carvalho getting second place at the World Championships, losing to Paulo Vitor Damaderosa in the finals earlier this year in Hawaii. Seems so long ago, as Gutterbones, plural, are going to kick this bad boy off, claim the firstborn, and just a couple of lands in hand here for Carvalho. Ichikawa, it's your standard good stuff hand here for Sultai Ramp. You've got a Nissa, you've got a Brazen Borrower, which Alexander Gordon-Brown put on the map in a very meaningful way last weekend. Here's a Thought Eraser, a swing, and pretty much a miss. There goes the claim the firstborn. Eliminate Nissa. Couple of lands, land drawn there, not ideal here for Carvalho, so here comes an attack for 4. But I suppose, you talked about playing in the middle, but more importantly, you talked about, hey, just try to get them dead pretty quickly, because they don't play a lot of removal in game 1, and look, I know it's just 2 Gutterbones, it's nothing all that spectacular, but looking at how Ishikawa's hand looks, I don't know, it's kind of problematic, at least for now.
This is a pretty impressive here for Carvalho because his hand's not very good. I mean, he picked up 4 lands, 3 spells. Not a great opening hand, not a mulligan, but a soft one. Has not drawn very well since then. But this initial start of just a couple 2-1s might be enough to close out this game before Ichikawa is able to do much of anything.
That's a timely top deck there. It is Rankle, Master of Pranks. Going to play that 4-mana 3/3, flying, hasty. Well, what Paulo Vitor Damaderosa, once this card was previewed, called more or less a walking planeswalker, which I think there's some truth to that, given all the text that's on that card. It's not going to hit just yet because of the petty theft, but here comes 4 points of damage. Ishikawa's going to fall down to 8, and that Rankle is kind of on suspend 1 right now because that Brazen Borrower and the petty theft that did occur, that doesn't take care of the card, as Agonizing Remorse is the draw here for Carvalho. So will he go back to the Rankle well or fire off the discard spell? We'll find out here in just a moment.
Well, this is a good window for Rankle. Carvalho doesn't necessarily know that, but a hand of Eliminate, Aether Gust, and Nissa, plus a couple lands. The coast is clear, and even if Ichikawa follows up the next turn with a Nissa, that might not be enough.
Well, let's not forget that Brazen Borrower can be played and blocked, so it looks attractive, but I actually think I kind of like this line here from Carvalho, which is just saying, I'm going to get in a couple of hits with my Gutterbones, and maybe I hope you don't have a Nissa, perhaps? Who knows?
You just hit here an Agonizing Remorse after combat.
Yeah.
And then, this is going to be good news here for Carvalho. You get the key card here in Anissa. The leftovers here, Eliminate you can play through. Aether Gust isn't much of a card at all.
Yeah, Aether Gust is mostly blank in this matchup. So there goes the Nissa. Going to sacrifice the Fabled Passage. Maybe fire off Eliminate on the end step. There's your basic island, and there's your Brazen Borrower. Okay, so we're going to get that in here now. Draw step. It's a Zagoth Triumph, not what the Doctor ordered. Remember, these Sultai Ramp decks, as powerful as they are, they do have to play a lot of lands to be able to do their thing. So this draws, the Mighty Whisper Squad, which it's slow in some respects, but it is powerful. So here come Gutterbones ×2. A lethal attack? Well, not quite. Eliminate will take care of one of these. All right. But them bones could be coming back for more here shortly. Let's see what our follow-up is after that 2 damage comes through. You see Marcio's going to tap the mana himself instead of relying on that dastardly auto-tapper. This is a Gutterbones. That is a Whisper Squad. And what I'll say here, partner, is a Carvalho this game, and we're deeming this deck Rakdos Sacrifices, Nissa is the draw. Nothing crazy going on here for Marcio, right? A couple of boneheads, or Gutterbones in this instance, and how about some beatdowns? And that can just be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the Brazen Borrower can't block. The Aether Gust has nothing to block, nothing to target here. And you're looking at a lot of cards that Sultai Ramp plays to kind of metagame against itself that we saw played to good effect last weekend, really do nothing here. And, that's part of the reason that metagames evolve, right? Carvalho's playing against the cards that excelled last weekend, and they are a major liability for Ichikawa's side.
Yeah, you got to remember that last weekend when Alexander Gordon-Brown won that tournament with those Brazen Borrowers and everything else that he had in his deck, that was geared for the mirror, and it worked out beautifully. He won the tournament in just the greatest of ease, I would actually say. As here come the Whisper Squads and the Gutter Bones to look like clean up this game and give Carvalho game number 1. But as you mentioned, we're watching Marcio take advantage of the fact that that deck won the tournament, which, yes, it's geared towards the mirror, but not geared towards aggressive strategies. So what I'm expecting is to see Ichikawa rock and roll here and get some aggressive hate into his main deck now for game number 2 and 3. And you see copies of Enter the God Eternals. We've got Extinction Event, Heartless Act, the cards that you would expect to see against an aggro deck. So we're going to see him kind of transition that way. And Marcel will change some things up too. Bolas of Citadel looks like it's coming in from the board among many other options. So while they work on that, we're going to work on this. And you see that gigantic graphic there of 4 p.m. happy hour. That's 50% off of our challenge at 4 p.m. It's standard. Looks like every day moving forward. So our challenge that takes place at 4 p.m., it's like getting a Coors Light on the cheap.
Yeah, crack open
which are already cheap.
Log in, 50% off, battle some standard. And if this is the recipe, when you're playing a deck like Marcio's, which, maybe is not the best deck in the format objectively, maybe not the most powerful, you expect to get game 1 because they're not prepared for you. They have some good sideboard cards, but asking them to catch 2 post-board games, one of which they'll be on the draw, that's asking a lot, even if they have good cards in their sideboard. So that's step 1, is getting number 1, where you should be a pretty heavy favorite. And then from here, you're going to battle through some tough post-board games, but, maybe their draw doesn't cooperate one time, or just the advantage of being on the play carries you in game number 3.
Taking a look at Yuki Ishikawa's deck list, which you can see as you're watching from home on Cardboard Live. I mean, we're looking at a deck list here in game 1, Patrick. 4 Uro, 4 Shark Typhoons. And my eyes, I do not believe, deceived me in no copies of Hydroid Crisis. 4 Shark Typhoons looks like taking place of the Hydroid Crisis. There's a Tamiyo. There's 4 Narsets for the mirror and other areas. 3 Gust, 3 Eliminate, 1 Negate, 3 Mystical Dispute, 4 Thought Eraser, only 1 Extinction Event. So if you're an aggressive deck, you'd love to play against Yuki Ishikawa game 1. That's for sure.
I wonder if that's there's a lot of good Sultai cards. It's not like the difference between Shark Typhoon and Hydroid Crisis is indefensible in the abstract, but I wonder if it's anticipating just a lot of copies of Narset this weekend.
That's fair.
Where Shark Typhoon is excellent and Hydroid Crisis is quite poor.
Gutter Bones going to kick off game number 2 here from Marcio Carvalho while we send it over to Ishikawa, who's got a couple of lands here in Breeding Pool and Watergrave to fire off that Thought Eraser. So we'll take a look here at Carvalho's hand of a Whisper Squad, Agonizing Remorse, and Lazatep Reaper. That's second Gutter Bones. Two of them were good enough to get game number 1 done. A Blood Crypt and a Mountain.
I don't know. I mean, depends on exactly how you want to approach this. Thought Erasure against Carvalho's deck with no good cards in it. I don't know if that's how I want to spend 2 mana.
Yo, dog, but the Surveil. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Your classic no good card aggro deck.
Yeah. What are you hoping to get out of this hand at any given time? It's like, here are a bunch of draft commons. They all cost 1 or 2 mana.
Well, maybe you're trying to spike that one, but missed. Bolas of Citadel was the draw, but we are a long way away from that. So this looks like it may be a Mountain for Carvalho after the attack for 2. And here's a draft common if I've ever seen one, unless Reaver, excuse me. Just a real stinker there.
Diversifying his bonds a little bit in the face of a potential extinction event. You got odds and even now.
That's right. Split them up.
Divide and conquer.
Here come the beatouts. Shark Typhoon's going to cycle. Draw a card, make a 1/1. And where are we trading? Will it be the army or will it be the bones? It'll be the army token. All right. So down to 11. Big follow-up coming. Now, of course, whenever you're playing in Sultai, and remember, we are an open decklist tournament, so Carvalho knows, hey, I know you've got access to Extinction Event. Tamiyo the draw. Yes.
Yeah, not willing to deploy the Whisper Squad there. That is to reload with.
Yes. Slowly but surely. Fabled Passage is the land. Here is the sacrificing of that. Time to go get a basic. It'll enter the battlefield untapped since it is land number 4. And Extinction Event will presumably be on odds, take care of the bones. And we are going to head back over to Carvalho, who's drawn a copy of Duress.
Duress is not a bad draw this turn. It fills out the mana. You got 4, which is enough for a Duress, a Whisper Squad, and a Whisper Squad activation.
So what I find to be compelling here, so we saw a discard spell from Ichikawa, right? And it's like, okay, so which garbage card do you want to select? And now we're seeing Duress on the other side, and it's like, okay, which awesome card do you want to select? It's hard for you to it's hard for you to poke apart my hand because all of my cards are so good. And on the flip, it was hard for Ichikawa to poke apart Carvalho's hand because all of his cards are so bad.
Yeah, I wonder if the pick here is Shark Typhoon and just hope that Ichikawa was kept off of 5 mana for a while. This one's a tough one. I guess the Tamiyo is kind of the same thing. I was wondering if you're in a position where you don't care about the Tamiyo as much because you are in a position to threaten a Planeswalker sort of generally.
Sure. Well, here is a timely draw for Ichikawa. It's a Watery Grave. Ishikawa's going to take a little bit of a look here. Now, of course, does have the necessary mana to fire off Enter the God Eternal. It's a card that's finally really making some impact on Standard. Not really main deckable at this point. Perhaps that changes in the future, but I remember when that card was first printed, I was like, man, they really baked in a lot of rate on that card. But it's exclusively a sideboard card right now. Good against aggro, pretty bad in a lot of other places. And you're going to have to pay a lot for that Muffler, but right now he's willing to do so as Ishikawa. And last attempt, Reaver, I can't believe I'm saying this, is being targeted by Enter the God Eternals. That's going to work out pretty well. And then you see that Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, has been placed into the graveyard from the mill 4 along with the 4/4 army. So, not a bad turn there for Ichikawa, as a Woe Strider is the draw there for Marcio. He'll play that. No good attacks to be had. And it could be time for Uro here, folks.
Yeah, and you're kind of seeing post-board how Sultai tries to approach some of these kind of matchups. Duress on Carvalho's side, maybe his best card that he's siding in the matchup. But Ichikawa's going to do a lot more work with creatures post-board, assuming that there's very little in the way of removal. And you're seeing that be put to really good effect here with that 4/4 token shutting down Carvalho's entire ability to attack, and now Uro getting ready to pivot to Ichikawa pulling ahead instead of just keeping his head above water.
And there is the Elder Giant on the battlefield. Shark Typhoon and Brazen Borrower at the ready. And, of course, Marcio from the Duress knows that. So, land 5. Plenty of black sources. You need to peel land 6, of course, for the Bolsa Citadel. And Marcio does have some control over that because of the Woe Strider and its ability to scry. So just one card here for Marcio. You wonder if Ichikawa knows what it is. Hasn't seen it yet. Here comes Uro. Trigger. Yes, Whisper Squad. Gonna go active right now. Let's go get one of those squadron. There's the battlefield tapped, of course. And I'm gonna do it again. Do it again. Squad up. Squad goals, perhaps. Uro, Trigger, Resolve, Zagoth, Triumph, Forest. That'll join the battlefield. Entering untapped. Good time to block. Do you want to block once or block twice? Because you do want to keep your life total as high as possible once you have Bolsa Citadel on the battlefield, so you can maximize exactly what that card can do. And you're seeing Marcio make that a bit of a priority, a bit of a double block here. Okay, so this is a little bit interesting, because what you're seeing is Marcio is trying to... I like this play. Marcio is trying to force the Brazen Borrower to cast the Petty Theft and say, hey, bounce my thing so that when I deploy my Citadel, there are no interruptions.
Yeah, and you all also don't even mind the trade here, because you're going to want to keep your life total high, as you mentioned before, to try to leverage Citadel as hard as possible. So it's kind of like you're happy either way with it. I think Carvalho would love to see the Brazen Borrower get induced here, but getting a trade with the 4/4 token is also not a bad consolation prize.
And I'll be honest here, let's not forget that Yuki Ichikawa is a phenomenal Magic player, and if he knows that Marcio knows that there's a Brazen Borrower in hand, and we're in an open deckless tournament, I don't think he's going to fall for that trick. So, this is a Castle Lochthane. And the follow-up, perhaps, is Woe Strider. So this is interesting as well, because what we could see now is we could see Woe Strider be escaped, and then you try for the gang block on the Uro. Again, I'm not convinced that's going to work. I don't think Marcio is either. So, we're going to go to Bolsa Citadel, folks. Mega powerful card here for Marcio. Ooh. Well, I don't hate starting on Clay the Firstborn.
This will do some sort of response. Assume.
One would assume. The claim the first one is going to target Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. We'll see if there will be a move here from Ichikawa. A lot to think about. Also, the top card of the deck is Duress, which is public information. And again, remember, Arena does a nice job of highlighting the information that players know. So, Marcio Carvalho, again, does know about the Brazen Borrow and Shark Typhoon, does not know about the Zagoth Triumph. For Ichikawa, well, Marcio's got no cards in his hand. That Wolf Rider's in the graveyard that can be escaped. Ichikawa knows the top card is Duress. He knows there's a Claim the Firstborn on the stack. He knows what's on the battlefield. So, Ichikawa is working with perfect information to be able to make this decision. There is a Brazen Borrower. More important than the Petty Theft half of that card. So the Borrower's on an adventure. Bolt's Citadel's back in the grip. Uro looks like it's going to let it rip into the attack zone. Will anything else be joining the fray? Looks like no. So, draw that Duress. No land to place on the battlefield, of course. Bolt's Citadel and Duress are the cards in hand. 6 will come through. Ichikawa's going to fall down to 12.
Yeah, hanging back with the Whisper Squads here. I guess there's probably not a whole lot to be gained by trying to turn this into a damage race when you know the Brazen Borrower is a possibility, and again, you're trying to just squeeze as much as you can out of Bolt's Citadel. Want to be able to jump block that Uro as confidently as possible.
Nissa, who shakes the world, is going to join this battlefield. You do see Yuki Ishikawa's hand there, Zagoth Triumph in a forest, so not a ton going on in the grip. Brazen Borrower's on an adventure. Uro can change some things here, of course, and this is going to animate a breeding pool, so that 3/3 is going to have haste and vigilance. Yeah, we're going to get busy. Get busy living or get busy dying. Overgrown Tomb, the draw. Forest under the battlefield. Uro predictably going to be blocked by a Whisper Squad. That's what it's there for, after all. So 7's going to come through. The goal here is to keep your life total pretty high because of the Bolts and Citadel, of course. And we're going to see a cycle of the Zagoth Triumph, perhaps? I think Ichikawa just wants to figure out the best way to tap for this. And it appears as though he's found it. So there's a cycle of the Triumph. Mystery card coming. Breeding Pool. Again, remember, these decks do play a ton of lands to be able to facilitate what they do. Citadel the draw. Well, actually, you know, funny that that's the draw step insofar as you'd rather not be staring at it on the top of your deck. So let's do it to it. Bastion of Remembrance.
Yep. But also, yeah, you want to keep now from here, you want to keep just the water flowing. You just want nothing but 1s and 2s coming off the top here and see if maybe you can overwhelm Ichikawa in one shot.
All right, what are we taking? Then the first board, give me an Uro. Village Rites is the next draw. More importantly, the next play off of the Citadel. That's a cheapie. Now, how do you want to go about doing that? I think is somewhat interesting. Because do you want to attack with Uro first and draw the Village Rites? So you want to play the Village Rites now, but then what you draw off of the Village Rites you can't cast because you're tapped out. And that is the decision that faces Carvalho right now. So there goes the Uro and the squads. Draw the Village Rites. Doesn't appear to be that good of a card anyway, so. Now Ichikawa's got a decision to make on the block. Does he even want to block at all? And don't forget, when a creature dies, the Bastion triggers as well, so.
Yeah, Ichikawa's life total is still pretty high enough here that to prioritize managing the battlefield as well as possible. rather than having to really be super protective of the life total. But you do have to concern yourself with the Citadel going ultimate, as it were.
All right, so now here is Woe Strider. Life total's 12, still plenty to work with. Agonizing Remorse, I mean, less than ideal, but can let it rip. Village Rites isn't terrible insofar as you can keep the water flowing, as you mentioned. You can also sacrifice the Uro, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Okay. Woe Strider is pretty nice, too, because of the scrying. Means that you can control the Citadel. Okay, so Village Rites, Noxious Grasp now on top.
It's not shabby. That'll play here.
Yeah, that's not bad. You gain a little bit of life from it, too. Alright, so there goes Nissa. Can we finish the game, though? Village Rites, okay. What are we going to sacrifice? The goat? Unclear. Okay, sacrifice the goat, trigger the Bastion. Gutterbones the draw. Well, Gutterbones would have been the draw, but that goes to the hand, so that would have been something that could have been played off of Bulls to Citadel, but instead draw 2 cards. Okay, so now we're going to sacrifice this token. Trigger the Bastion. Bring you down to 4, up to 9. Land? No thank you. Castle Lockvane? Okay. There's that. Stankle Rankle. This also lets you... Okay, so we play a Rankle, go down to 5. Okay. Sacrifice... Trigger the Bastion. Bring my opponent down to 3. Blood Crypt, no thank you. Blood Crypt still on top. Sacrificing Rankle brings Ichikawa down to 2. That Blood Crypt is going to go to the bottom, of course. Swamp is not what the doctor ordered. So now, you can play Gutterbones. If you play Gutterbones, you can sacrifice it, bring your opponent down to 1, scry that swamp to the bottom, and then you got to hit a creature. Right?
It's a lot of looks at it.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to hit now because you're
Right, yeah.
You're not 100% dying on the crackback.
But it's still, like, really tenuous.
Yes. Draw. Okay, there's a Woe Strider. We can play that. That'll bring it down to 5. Brazen Borrower in response, not going to matter. Trigger, get that token, sack that token, or anything you want. And that is going to do it. So the hyper combo finish of Woe Strider, Bulls to Citadel, and Bastion of Remembrance are going to get it done here for Marcio Carvalho, who's going to defeat Yuki Ichikawa 2-0.